WPLG 715, Fireman Kenny's on the air, helping you to stay safe in a world where danger never takes a vacation. On this episode, we talk about the American Burn Association and burn injury prevention strategies with Becky Coffey, Karla, Klas, and Paul Schwartzman. Welcome back to all 13 of our listeners to another installment of the Fireman Kenny Show podcast, especially our newest listeners in Rhode Island. It's not an island, and I don't know who wrote it, but Rhode Island's motto is hope, and its state bird is the Rhode Island red chicken. On this episode, we talk burn injury prevention with Parkland Health Burn Manager Becky Coffey, University of Michigan Trauma Burn Center Manager Karla Klas, and Finger Lakes Regional Burn Association Executive Director Paul Schwartzman. Before we begin the podcast, we would like to mention our sponsors. For over a century, the National Fire Sprinkler Association has been advocating for a stronger industry and a safer world by promoting fire sprinklers in model codes and legislation. Their mission is simple: to protect lives and property from fire through the widespread acceptance of the fire sprinkler concept. Be sure to follow the National Fire Sprinkler Association on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. You can visit the National Fire Sprinkler Association website, www.nfsa.org. We would also like to thank our friends at Fire Suppression Solutions, distributor of fire suppression products for the fire service and for home use. You can follow Fire Suppression Solutions on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Now a word from Fire Suppression Solutions.
Fire can strike without warning, leaving you with precious little time to react. And if you are not prepared, the damage can be devastating to life and property. In the blink of an eye, your home or business could be on fire, with flames doubling in size every 30 seconds, leaving you helpless and unable to respond. Don't let this nightmare become a reality. That starts with being prepared. Our fire suppression products are designed to equip you with an effective response to any fire emergency, all while limiting additional damage, making you the true first responder, giving you the peace of mind that you have what you need to keep your loved ones and property safe until more help comes. Do you have a plan to respond to a fire emergency at your home or business? Protect your family, pets, and property with the tools from Fire Suppression Solutions. Contact us today and finish putting your plan into effect before it's too late.
For more information on Fire Suppression Solutions products, you can visit firess.us. Before we get into the interview, we have to give our listeners some notice about a burned firefighter. Ironically, the burn injuries happened the day after the American Burn Association conference in Phoenix ended. I would like to thank Regions Hospital Burn Program Manager Mark Johnston for connecting the family with me to help gain resources for one of the burned firefighters who is currently being treated at the Regions Hospital Burn Center in St. Paul, Minnesota. It's the interpersonal relations that are gained at the American Burn Association conference that helps burn firefighters and their families gain additional resources to assist with their recovery. On Saturday, April 12, 2025 at 1:31 p.m., the McClusky, North Dakota Fire Department was dispatched to a brush fire that started as a controlled burn at the Highway 14 gravel pits. Firefighting operations were impeded by changing wind direction and speed. Firefighters Jaiden Bauer and Casey Qualley were injured, and one truck was destroyed. Jaiden Bauer was seriously burned and is currently being treated at Regions Hospital Burn Center in St. Paul, Minnesota. Jaiden suffered second and third degree burns to his head, face, neck, and arms while battling the wildfire. He will need extensive treatments for his injuries as well as follow-up visits for future care. Jaiden's wife, Alexis, is at his bedside at Regions Hospital Burn Center, while their 3 children are being cared for by family members. An account has been set up at Bravera Bank to assist with his recovery. Any donations towards his recovery are greatly appreciated. If you want to send a check, you can send it to Jaiden's Recovery Benefit at Bravera Bank, 217 Main Street, McClusky, North Dakota, 58463. You can also call Bravera Bank at area code 701-363-2655. 82265 to get instructions on how to give, or you can go to Bravera Bank's website, www.bravera.bank. Once again, I would like to thank all 13 of our loyal listeners for tuning into the show. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the Fireman Kenny Show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever platform you're listening to the show. You can also follow the Fireman Kenny Show on Facebook for the latest updates on future guests. The American Burn Association had the National Burn Awareness Week campaign the first week of April. It appears that the 2025 campaign was the most successful of all the National Burn Awareness Week campaigns. With us on this episode are some of the Burn Prevention Committee members from the American Burn Association, good friends of mine. So we've got Becky Coffey, Karla, Klas, and Paul Schwartzman. Welcome to the show.
Hello, my name's Becky Coffey, and I'm the Burn Program Manager at Parkland Hospital in Dallas, Texas.
I'm Karla Klas. I manage the injury and violence prevention at the University of Michigan Trauma Burn Center.
And I'm Paul Schwartzman. I'm the Executive Director of the Finger Lakes Regional Burn Association in upstate New York.
It would appear that the 2025 National Burn Awareness Week campaign was probably the most successful of all of the NBAW campaigns throughout the history of the ABA. Let's talk about some of the things that made it really successful and what people did to help with promoting National Burn Awareness Week.
This was one of our most successful National Burn Awareness Week. The theme was Preventing Burns Where You Live. And this year we had 1.15 million total estimated views, which is more than we've ever had any year, 639 social posts, 342 Facebook posts, 156 Instagram posts, 110 X posts, 21 YouTube videos, 10 TikTok videos, and 229 digital news coverage, which is phenomenal. And I think there's other things this is probably under reporting of it, because I think there was much more that just didn't get reported. So it was very, very successful.
I think part of that success this year was that a couple new things were added, including having a video contest that was a little bit of a new idea that was added a little bit later. Let's just leave it at that. But it really quickly was picked up by a lot of the burn teams across the country, and we had a whole bunch of submissions that were submitted to it, and there was a lot of really creative ideas and people and ideas and content that was spread, and there were some people that were selected for awards for this at this year's American Burn Association annual meeting, which we are at right now live. But in addition to that, I think that part of this kind of organic movement or growth that we saw was because people were talking about it in their communities and making videos and sharing it across all platforms, which we saw this year.
In upstate New York, I think one of the things that really lent to its success was that the topic was broader. We could personalize it to our communities, and so it was preventing burns at home. I work with a small nonprofit that really supports burn survivors, but also burn prevention. We work very closely with our burn center, and in collaboration with our burn center, we chose the topic of smoking when using oxygen, or not to smoke when using oxygen, and then really made it personal so that people could understand that it's their loved ones that were at risk. And then we worked with a local marketing agency to help do a public service announcement. So the fact that we could really customize it to what we were seeing as a more critical issue in terms of presentations to the burn center, I thought really helped it.
And don't think you missed your opportunity with 2025, because all the materials are still up on the website at www.ameriburn.org. So please go there and check them out, because they are very, very good, and you can use them and personalize them for your unit.
So our 3-year theme from 2025 through 2027 was burn prevention where you live, work, and play. So this year's theme for 2025 was preventing burns in the home. 2026 will be preventing burns in the workplace, and 2027 will be preventing burns in places of recreation. This morning at the Sunrise Symposium, we had talked about a little bit about what we can start doing for preventing burns in the workplace, but what are some of the ideas that we can have for next year's campaign, as well as what can we tell people on how to help promote the campaign in 2026?
So what you can do to prepare for the 2026 campaign where you work is pull your registries, look at your data in your area so you know where people are getting burned in their workplaces so you can target your campaign to what's happening in your area.
You know the people that you live with. You know the people that you work with. You know just your community. So think about how people could be getting burn injuries where they work and start spreading the best way to spread the word about this is just to have conversations with people. We talk about a campaign. That sounds so formal. Really, the best campaigns are people just kind of normalizing this or just talking about it and saying, hey, I didn't realize, did you, that this is how somebody could get a burn injury in their office where they work? Or doesn't your dad work at that industrial plant down the road? Oh my gosh, did you know that this is what our burn center, this is what our hospital is doing? Or isn't your uncle or your grandma, or don't they live on a farm? Did you know that that's how they're getting injured or could get injured? Just start talking about it and sharing some of those messages. And if you're a professional that works in this area, look at, like Becky said, look at where are the injuries that you know are happening and start thinking about what are some of those priorities on saying how can we be preventing those injuries that are going to have meaning to the people that are in your community.
And please don't forget the children, because kids work, going to school is work. A lot of our teenagers are working in restaurants, so don't forget to look at that population too. They're smoking, they're vaping, and so those are all kinds of things, even at work. So those are things to think about when you're thinking about your campaign.
I'm a mental health professional, so one of the things that I know about people who are vulnerable is that we're very good at denial. We think about our homes and then we think about our workplace, we perceive them as safe. And so I think one of our challenges would be how do we alert people to be mindful of that, but without simply scaring them. I think the other tip I would suggest as we move forward, something we've learned more in the public health field, is that by simply scaring somebody or giving them a negative message doesn't cause them to act. But if we can show them what the risk is, but then also literally display to them what you can do to protect and to ameliorate the risk, then we're going to get a better response.
So what we're going to do at the national level with the American Burn Association and with our fire service partners and all of the other community risk reduction and safety organizations we're going to look at what are the kinds of injuries, burn injuries that are happening in multiple different workplace locations. And kind of the themes that are coming out are workplace locations that are agriculture related and industrial related, fire service and firefighter, which Fire and Kenny will be able to talk about, office and school and other places like that. And you don't have to do this on your own. We will be coming up with some suggested messaging or messages around safety that we'll provide that then you can use, and then you'll be able to customize them to what is going to speak to your community. To just what Paul said too, that we're not trying to scare people into thinking that there's danger everywhere, but what are some proactive things that you can do so that you do stay safe, because work is important to us and it's important to you in keeping your independence and your family and that, and so we want to protect your independence and keep you safe for as best as we can.
When we're talking about effective communication of these burn prevention messages, there are so many platforms to get the message out, such as social media, television, radio, newsprint, online magazines, you name it, any type of communication that's effective in getting those messages out. But let's talk about how our followers, our 10 listeners and beyond, can get these messages out and make sure that the people who need to hear these messaging finally do hear these messages and heed the messages to keep themselves from getting burned.
Again, I think you have to go back to the population that you're serving when you're thinking about what platforms or how you're going to get that message out. I would not use a print in 3-year-olds or 5-year-olds or 10-year-olds. I would use text or social media, but maybe for a elderly community, I may use more of the written words. So I think that's one thing, is first think about the community or who you're trying to reach before you design your platform that you want to use.
Get creative in how to make it fun. And even if it's your job responsibility to roll out National Burn Awareness Week, bring in your colleagues, bring in your peers, bring in some of your new colleagues, some of your older ones, that kind of do a brainstorm effect or creative brainstorming session on this, and come up with new ideas on what to do and have fun with it. Something that we tried, or that I tried, was to come up with you see all the time people, Pinterest and other forums and that are like, what are like 50 ways that are free or low cost to have fun this summer with your child, or 50 ways to take a break, or 50 ways to, have a pause, or all these different things. Maybe are there 50 ways that you could celebrate National Burn Awareness Week this year, or just, I don't know, think out of the box. One thing that I tried this year was maybe we start in our own home. And when I say our own home, this next year in 2026, the theme is prevention where you work. Have you thought about prevention in your own workplace? What are some ways that you could spread the word about burn prevention in your own workplace? Does your own team, are they even knowledgeable or aware of prevention tips and themes around that? And what are some fun things that you could do with that? I don't know about your team, but our team likes a lot of different competitive, fun competitive stuff. So can you do some different team competition things, contests? Everybody likes winning prizes, even if it's small things. So just get creative in that and have fun with it. And share your ideas if they're really fun, because we will use them.
Don't know that I have a whole lot more to add to those great ideas, but here we are on a podcast, which is a form of social media, I would say. But talk about trending in our nation. Podcasts is big business today. Sirius Radio is now promoting major national programming. So where do we kind of continue to use this platform, and maybe then connect with other podcasters and commingle? Could be a way to really kind of broaden this.
So some of the other ways include reaching out to the media. So Becky, you and I talked with the American Journal of Nursing, and Gretchen Caroler wrote an article about burn nursing as a profession, and that was the first time since 1998 that the American Journal of Nursing had something about burns or burn treatments in their magazine. Let's talk about how we can get more outreach, and not just from the Burn Prevention Committee and not just the ABA, but to the local and national media to help promote Burn Awareness Week and burn prevention.
We just did a blind email to the American Journal of Nursing. They got back to us. They hadn't had any articles for a while. And so, don't be afraid to reach out to people. Think outside the box. And then use your media department in your hospitals or your workplace, because they can be your very best friends. Luckily, we have Santa come every year to our burn center, and our media people love it, and that's a good way to get our message out, and we can put some prevention tips in there. And we invite our media people to every outreach event that we have, and they have written many articles and gotten some words out about prevention tips. So that's one thing you can do.
Think about what events you either are already doing or that you could do. Have you considered doing a tour of your burn center? Are you already, or could you be doing some kind of a burn survivor and burn team reunion or picnic? And who are coming to those, and who could you invite? And might you be able to invite a celebrity, maybe a congressperson that's local in the area? And when people like that do come, sometimes you can invite the media, and sometimes they bring the media with them. And that can kind of be a more organic way of having media as well as some important people in your community who can all be there together and together raise awareness around this important issue, and also have some voices that are heard about it. And especially if you have an event where there are burn professionals and fire service personnel and burn survivors and potentially Congress or legislators and media that are all there at once, it can really send a really strong voice about the importance of preventing these injuries and raising awareness about an injury that doesn't have to happen if we all work together.
Yeah. Media is always challenging because it depends on what's going on in the news, whether they're going to give you attention or not. And so that's always been a little bit of a crapshoot to me, because I've had them respond to things and say they're coming, and then some other event happens and they're not there. So I've never came up with the magic answer there, but I think what's most helpful in my experience is establishing some ongoing relationships with the key stations in your area. So I've really tried to establish some rapport with some of the anchors, get to know them, invite them to certain events, and then over time you really establish some rapport. They're more likely to be responsive.
Well, this has been a great discussion about burn prevention and the National Burn Awareness Week campaign. So do you have any final thoughts for the 10 listeners?
So one final thought is we have started a burn prevention poster contest, and this is the people that can enter are burn survivors that are going to burn camp and or their families. And so getting the perspective of the burn survivor, I think, is really important on prevention tips. They can tell you about the lived experience, and I think that's a really cool thing. And the other beauty of the poster contest is that the child can be recognized locally, and so we can get buy-in from the local media, the local partners, local fire department, and I think it will be a real honor for the child from camp. So look forward to that, and look forward to our wonderful posters.
Final thoughts are the 2025 theme was burn prevention where you live. 2026 is burn prevention where you work. And there's an intersection there of where some people live and where others work. And that crossover is around home health care workers. And so one of these themes is to think about, for those of you that are living at home and there are home health care workers that are taking care of people in the home, that we have to look out for each other, right? And do the things that can protect both yourselves as well as can protect the people that are trying to take care of you. And an issue that Paul brought up earlier is that issue around home oxygen safety. And the best thing that we can do is recognize that home oxygen safety saves a life by being on it and it being a treatment for a medical condition when it is used safely. But when we let our guard down and forget about the different ignition sources that are around our home, and common ones are lighters and e-cigarettes and cigarettes and stoves and candles and campfires and other things like that, that we need to remember that we don't just turn off the oxygen, but we have to let that oxygen level return down to normal oxygen levels, which can take quite a while, and keep ourselves away from that. Then we risk not just hurting ourselves, but we also risk hurting the people that are trying to take care of us, which are home health care workers as well as our loved ones. So that's where this burn prevention at home and where we work, they intersect, and we need to work on this year's theme as well as next year's theme.
My final thought would be that in spite of the fact we're talking about Burn Awareness Week, it's really not just a week. We can start now. It's really all year, and we can start integrating all these ideas and talking to people at work and how do they get their word out? What are their messaging systems? Do they have any kind of internal communication? So we can start tonight.
We would like to thank Becky, Coffey, Karla, Klas, and Paul Schwartzman for the interview about burn prevention. For more information, you can visit www.ameriburn.org. Join us on our next episode when we interview Ben Garrett from the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources about Wildfire Community Preparedness Day. WPLG 715, Fireman Kenny's returning to quarters.
Magnum Media is working with first responders to help keep our communities safe. The Home Fire Sprinkler Coalition, National Fire Sprinkler Association, and Washington County Fire Chiefs Association proudly salute our first responders. Here's an important message from Magnum Media.
I'm Marty King from the National Fire Sprinkler Association. Home fires can become deadly in as little as 2 minutes. Homes burn faster due to modern furnishings and lightweight wood construction. These fires produce smoke that is both toxic and deadly. A fire sprinkler system is the only thing that can stop fire and deadly smoke from spreading. In less time than it takes firefighters to arrive at your burning home, fire sprinklers control the fire and allow everyone to escape. If you are building a new home, protect your family with home fire sprinklers.
The Home Fire Sprinkler Coalition, National Fire Sprinkler Association, Washington County Fire Chiefs Association, and Magnum Media are proud to salute our first responders. For more information on Home Fire Sprinkler Week, visit homefiresprinkler.org.